Alrighty guys, Vio here coming at you with my 2015-2016 Premier League predictions video. So, I've done this the last couple of years. I haven't really looked into it to see how well I went in those, but it is a little bit of fun, just something different for me to do on the channel, just to see how I can predict what's going to happen pretty much. So, we've got a few new teams obviously coming into the league. So we've got Bournemouth, Watford and Norwich all coming up into the Premier League. And I think they're going to do okay, hopefully. I've actually predicted one of them to actually stay up. So we'll start at the bottom, and we've got the final three that I think will actually get relegated. And in last place, we've got Norwich. I don't think they're going to be able to stay in the league, unfortunately. It's going to be very tough for them. And the signings they've made, they've got Brady, Dorrans, Malumbu, and Wisdom on loan. So not the greatest of signings. I mean, a few of them are actually Premier League tried and tested, but I don't know how they're going to go. And Watford, they've made a lot of signings, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can actually put those signings into the team and merge them and play well together. I don't think they'll be able to do it. Bayrami from Hamburg, I'm pretty sure it's from Hamburg, in the Bundesliga, is a great signing. He's a very solid player. And Capue's Premier League tried and tested. Holebas is a good left back. But yeah, there's a few players that I don't know. I don't know how they're going to mix. They've got like 8 or 9 players that they brought in. So I'm not sure how they're all going to sort of merge well together. So I'm predicting them to get second last on the table. And the final relegation spot I've actually put for West Brom. And I just don't think they're going to be doing anything. The only signings they've made Chester, Lambert and McLean. So a few players that have actually played in the Premier League a few times. But this season I don't see them staying up. And then we'll move on to the rest of the bottom half of the table. So we've got Bournemouth just staying up. So they've actually made some decent signings. So Boric and Federici are both solid keepers. Can both do a job in the net there. Atsu they've brought in on loan, and then they've also brought in Distan from Everton, who went on a free transfer. Gradel is a beautiful player. They got him from the French league, and they've got King and Mings also. So I really think maybe it's just my heart wanting like a promoted side to stay up. But I actually think Bournemouth will actually do that. So it'd be good if they could get 17th and just avoid relegation. And above them, I've got Aston Villa. Made a lot of signings as well, a few decent ones. Ayu's a brilliant signing. Guess dead if you actually get on the score sheet. He's a decent enough striker. He's played well for Blackburn recently. Be good if you actually get some goals. That might help them, stay in the Premier League. Sinclair is a good signing also. So it's interesting to see what they can do. And then we've got Sunderland. I'm not really sure about Sunderland. They've got Coates, Kabul, Lenz, and Matthews from Celtic. I really like Matthews. He's a good player. So I'm just thinking them going to say sort of mid-table type of thing. Leicester City. They've brought in Fuchs from the German league, Huth from Stoke, and Okazaki is a brilliant signing for Leicester. I honestly think he'll be a brilliant player for him. So I'm hoping they'll get mid-table as well. Swansea, I'm not sure how they're going to go. So they brought in Ayew, who's a decent enough player, and Tabanu, who's a brilliant left back from the French league. So I'm thinking they might do alright in mid-table. Also, Crystal Palace, they've brought in a couple of brilliant signings. First of all three of the ones that they've brought in so far are brilliant. So Patrick Bamford on loan, he actually played really good last year, and he got signed by I think Chelsea from memory. He's been loaned back out straight away to Crystal Palace, but they have brought back Yohan Cabaye to the Premier League. That is a brilliant signing. And they've brought Connor Wickham for I think it was only 9 mil or something like that, from Sunderland, I'm pretty sure it was. And Connor Wickham can absolutely put the ball in the back of the net. He's going to be a brilliant signing for him, I think. So Palace, I think, will get 12th. And then we'll move up, and the last team, in the bottom half of the table is actually Stoke City, and they've made some decent enough signings. Afellay from I think Olympiacos, or whether it's back at Barcelona and back out. But either way, he's a decent enough signing. Joselu's a good striker. And Johnson obviously is tried and tested Premier League right back, so got him from Liverpool. So I think they might just sneak into the bottom half of the table, not quite into the top half. But then let's move into the final 4 spots of the mid-table before we get into the European placing. So in 10th position, I've got Newcastle United. This is solely, normally I put them lower because they haven't been playing that great recently. But they have signed Wijnaldum, who's a brilliant centre attacking mid from PSV, and they've signed Mitrovic, who's he's just a proven goal scorer. Not in the Premier League, but they got him from Anderlecht, I'm pretty sure, and he's just an absolute monster. And Mbemba is a brilliant centre-back. I can see him being used a lot in Premier League squads next year. in FIFA 16 as well. So we'll move up into ninth. We have West Ham. So a team that's been going pretty well. They started off last season crazy. Sacco Valencia went nuts, and they faded off a little bit. But this season they've brought in Jenkinson on loan again. They've brought in Lanzini on loan. It's a good pickup. Obiang is a brilliant midfielder. Ogbonna is a brilliant centre back. So hopefully he can suit the Premier League down to a T. And Payet is their main signing. They brought him from the French league. He is going to be their number 10, their creative playmaker. So hopefully he can do a job for them. And then in at the 8th position, I've got my team. I've got Everton. The only two signings we've brought in are Tom Cleverley and Jared Deulofeu. It's going to be interesting to see how they go. Deulofeu played okay for us when he was with us on loan from Barcelona. And Cleverley obviously knows the Premier League. He's been playing there for a while. So hopefully Cleverley can play okay for us. I have my doubts about him, but maybe that was just because he was at Man United and he's probably not good enough for that high of a team. So hopefully he can do a job for us. But then we'll move up. Number 7, the 7th team, we've got Southampton. So these guys I really love watching. They've actually signed a couple of decent players. So they've got Corker on loan, Stekelenburg on loan. Cedric, the right back, is someone I rate very highly, pretty much from career modes and stuff like that. But he is an absolute monster. They got Jordi Clasie from the Dutch league and a couple of other players as well. So I'm hoping Southampton can play some awesome football, and they might be contending for some Europa League spots or something like that. Now, in 6th position, I've actually got Spurs. So I'm not sure whether it's Europa League playoff position or not. I can't remember how it all works. So I've got it there as a sort of light blue as a playoff position. I think it might just be a mid-table finish and not actually a Europa League spot, but depends how. Normally, if you get like an FA Cup player winner or something like that above them, they can sort of qualify anyway. But in obviously Tottenham in 6th, they've brought in Alderweireld, Trippier, and Wimmer. So Trippier obviously has played in the Premier League before, so it's going to be interesting to see how he goes. Probably just going to be a backup for Kyle Walker, but he's a bit of a monster. So maybe he can play left back. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I've got Tottenham in at 6th, and then in at number 5 we have Liverpool. So they've actually made some brilliant signings. I was almost tempted to put them a little bit higher in this list, but I've got them. So Benteke is going to be a monster for him. He's already scored one crazy goal, and now I'm actually recording this on the 5th of August, so a few days before the opening games of the season. So if there's more signings, obviously things could change, but this is how I see it right now. So yeah, Benteke looks like an absolute monster for Liverpool. Obviously he can score goals for fun in the Premier League when he's on song, and he got some of that form back at the end of last season for Aston Villa. So then we've got Klein, who is a brilliant right back. Obviously going to be an English right back also, and then Firmino is a monster. He was ripping it up in the Bundesliga for the past couple of seasons, so it's going to be interesting to see how he goes. Milner they got on, I'm pretty sure on a free from Man City, so now he's got the experience and he can play pretty much any position. He's one of those sort of workman type of players that can just play anywhere, utility players. And then they also got Ings, so I'm not sure how much playing time Ings is going to get. Maybe a little bit at the start when Sturridge is actually injured. So he's a brilliant striker, Ings. Obviously he's Premier League tried and tested also. But then we get into the 4th spot, and who else would it be other than Arsenal? So pretty much I was tempted to put them higher, but just because it's Arsenal, I decided let's just slip them in a 4th spot for the sake of it. The only player they've brought in is Cech, but to be fair, Cech's a monster. So obviously wasn't going to find any first-team football at Chelsea because Courtois is there. So a brilliant signing for Arsenal, and he's already got a clean sheet and beaten Chelsea in the Community Shield as well. So I actually think they're going to get 4th or around about that. They could go up, they could go down. It could go sort of either way with them. But yeah, it could be very interesting to see. Now, the top 3, obviously we've got Chelsea, Man United, and Man City left. In at 3rd, I've actually put Man City. So maybe a little bit of a debatable one. They've actually brought in Delph Forpala, Robert Sterling, and Unal. So a few decent signings. Sterling obviously is going to get game time. Delph will probably get a little bit also. The rest of them I don't know how much they'll get. Unal's actually a decent young striker, but more for the future. And yeah, Sterling, I mean, obviously he's a good player. Like, he's going to be a bit of a boss for him, but I would have liked to see them sign like a major player. Like, Sterling's good, but he's not one of those big marquee players, So I've got him in there at 3rd. In at 2nd, which is a bit of a contentious one for a lot of people, I'm assuming, is Man United. Now, they've brought in some brilliant players. First of all, Depay. I'm a big fan of Memphis Depay. He's a brilliant player. and I think he will rip shreds up with Man United. Because let's face it, he'll be put out on the wing with Di Maria going as well. It looks like he's going, and Ashley Young's been playing left back. So, not always, but with Luke Shaw. So I think Depay will actually start ahead of Ashley Young, or at least I would put him ahead of Ashley Young. Not sure what Louis van Gaal will do, but obviously, with that Dutch connection, he might play him. And then Schneiderlin is a bit of a boss. So obviously Premier League tried and tested also. Played so well for Southampton for the last few years, and Schweinsteiger is just going to bring that cool head experience. He's a World Cup winner. He's a bit of a monster. So I think they'll carry him to just second, but obviously the last team is going to be Chelsea. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go. Falcao's on loan, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out. He didn't really look that great when I watched about the second half of the Community Shield. I'm not sure how hard they were going out for it, but he didn't look that great in my eyes. But Begovic is a brilliant backup keeper signing, so he's just going to sit there behind Courtois. If he does get injured, Begovic is a brilliant keeper. So I think that's how it's sort of going to work. So Chelsea to win the Premier League with Man United and Man City in the other qualification spots for the Champions League, and then Arsenal in the qualification game for the group stages. And then Liverpool, Tottenham just behind, and then relegation will be West Brom, Watford and Norwich. So that's how I see it. I'm not sure, it could be completely different. Obviously things will change, and this is only at the 5th of August, so obviously with more signings and stuff like that before the end of August, it could drastically change. But this is how I see it right now, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I've been Vio, and peace.